Yes, guys, it's Willem here from Africa TCG. I'm going to be honest with you, this is take two. The previous video, or when I tried to film the video, I thought I wasn't concise enough in what I was saying, so I'm going to do it properly this time. This is my first kind of video where I actually show you my face. Here it is. And where I talk about something opinion-based in Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of the ban list. So remember, first off, I'm going to preface this video in saying that, remember, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one, and this is my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but I implore you to be respectful. Even if I'm going to try my best to be respectful as well. So if we go to the... By the way, if I keep looking down, it's because I'm actually looking at my notes, because this is the first time I'm doing a video like this. So just bear with me. We're going to start off with the cards that are newly unlimited. So going to 3. As you can see here, Cyberjaw, nobody gives a shit. Ava, nobody gives a shit. If Beatrice doesn't exist, Ava is unimportant. And Monkey Board, nobody gives a shit. I mean, I like it, but... it's just going to make getting to your performer pals a bit more consistent. And then the Jackalope and the Tsuchinoko, the 2 danger monsters, I don't think it matters. It only matters to like the 3 Dark World players that exist, me being one of them, but I don't think it actually does make a difference. In terms of the unlimits, nothing really impacts the format at all. Then we're going to go to the semi-limits. This is obviously where most of, I think, the greater amount of changes happened. In terms of semi-limits, I'm not entirely happy. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the semi-limited list. I feel if a card is at 2, it can either be at 1 or 3. Obviously, there are certain outliers for that, but I think the semi-limited list just doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to start off here with the Ryziel hits. So obviously with X Ryziel, Ice Ryziel, both, and Sword Ryziel, all 3 of them going to 2. This does hit the consistency of Ryziel decks. I believe it's... excuse me, it's going to be, I think it's Ice or X Ryziel, either one of them, that actually makes the Fiendsmith Ryziel deck be able to play with a pivot into the Fiendsmith deck. So I think dropping the consistency of that along with Bonfire, like you'll see in the limited section, it does make the deck a lot less consistent, which in my opinion is a good thing. And the pure Ryziel deck obviously is going to be a lot less consistent now, because essentially they're losing, what is that, 5 starters? I think it's 5. Good stuff all around. I wish some of them went to 1. I know the one that's a 1 card, well, they're all 1 card combos, but the one that on normal summon, special summons 1 from deck, I believe it's X Ryziel or something. I think that should have gone to 1. That's just my opinion. But yeah, overall, I'm not the biggest fan of Ryziel, but I'm also not the biggest hater of Ryziel. I think it's just the white paper paste of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. It's quite boring. I understand certain people like it because it's fairly easy to play, and it makes a bit of it's a very consistent way to get to your end board of Detonator. So that's just my opinion on Ryziel. In terms of Malice, the Malice hits obviously were a hit to consistency in terms of the semi-limits. I think Dormouse should have just gone to 1. It is technically their best starter. So if that went to 1, it obviously would have made the deck a bit easier to deal with. But going to 2, I'll take it. And White Rabbit, eventually that card should go to 1 as well. But that's just obviously when they want to kill Malice. So White Rabbit, I think it's the easiest to stop one apart from the Chessy Cat. So I think White Rabbit going to 2 is a decent hit. Obviously you can hear from my tone of voice, I'm not the biggest fan of Malice. And I know it sounds like I just hate on the 2 main decks, but I don't think Malice is unfair. I just think it's a bit ignorant when it comes to playing into hand traps. So I like the fact that they're getting a hit to their consistency, and at some point when you look at the other hits on the list, they start losing to hand traps a bit more, which I think is a good thing. I think decks should be able to be stopped by at least 2 hand traps, so that it's interactable. I mean, I don't want the deck to be dead, but I just, obviously my personal opinion is that I don't like the deck. But in any case, the field spell going to 2, I know the field spell is really good. It's one of the worst starters, if I can put it that way, but it's also an extender. So going to 2, I don't think makes that much of a difference, because the link 3 can still search it, so you still have that, what do you call it, that line of extension. But it does mean now that if you hand trap the link 3 that gets the field spell and they don't have it in hand, then at least you get a way to stop any further extension plays, which is decent in my opinion. Then in terms of the rest of the semi-limits, the Snake Eyes cards should be at 3. Ash and Poplar can be at 3, especially with Bonfire being limited now. And with OSS banned, dude, come on. The deck is not good. I mean, it's decent, but it's not good. Then Sharvara. Why the fuck was it even at 1? The moment the new decks came out after the Unchained format, Unchained was power crept out of the game almost immediately. So I think Sharvara should be straight at 3. I know it makes Fiend Link and like Unchained better, and it makes Yubel a bit better as well. I don't know if it does. I'm not that well versed in the newer combos with Yubel, but I suppose it does make a bit of a difference. So yeah, Sharvara should be at 3, and then the black and the white dragons, the baby dragons. In my opinion, they should be at 3. With the fact that LP is banned, with Alcapane that's banned, I don't think they're going to make much of an impact. It does make Dragon Link a bit better, and I actually like Dragon Link. So I know it sounds like a very biased opinion, but I do like the black and the white dragon. I think they would be fine at 3, to be completely honest. They are bricks sometimes if you like draw too many of them, or you draw the wrong one in the wrong situation. So I think they would be fine. And then Morphing Jar at 2. Come on, guys, really? Are we gonna play what's that they called? Empty Jar? Good luck. Really, good luck. If you make it work, more power to you. Then we go to the limited section. As you can see here, Bestial Druid Worm. I mean, I like the fact that they're starting to hit the Bestials. I think personally, I'm surprised that Magnamut wasn't banned. I know some people are very vocal about the fact that they don't want Magnamut being banned, but I mean, for me, it doesn't make a big difference as long as it's not a 3. Druid Worm, obviously being to 1, makes it less consistent to where the Druid Worm is just an inherent out to whatever. So I like the fact that it's at 1. I'm not going to complain about that. Then Dimension Shifter. Look at me. Fuck Dimension Shifter. I hate that card. It's a completely biased opinion, but I think it's also a very reasonable opinion. I don't like Shifter. I don't like the fact that it's at 1. I want it to be banned, but I will take it at 1. Any kind of hit to Shifter is decent in my opinion. So that's my opinion on Shifter. Mathmech Circular, I don't care, dude. I know a lot of people really like Mathmech Circular, and I think Mathmech is actually quite a cool deck to play. But now I'm just thinking maybe Mathmech Circular might be incorporated into Malice in some way if they can. But that obviously means you have to play Cyanide Mining. Or what's that card called? Small World. So I think Circular is decent. But in that fact as well, if Malice starts incorporating Cyanide Mining into the deck now, it just means they start getting hit a bit more when it comes to Droll. With the shifter also being gone, some lists did play it, some lists didn't, but if they did play it now, they're more susceptible to hand traps like Veiler, Ogre, Droll, and also Ash as well, because if you hand trap the Cyanide Mining, they essentially lose an extra card to your one Ash that you gave out. So I think if this forces Malice to play Cyanide Mining, I'm quite happy about that. And I mean, Circular is a cool card, man. Like, back in the day, I even thought about building Mathmech, and then obviously Circular got hit and that dream got crushed quite fast. Then we are going to go to Masterpiece, the True Draco Slaying King. Come on, bro, just put the thing at 3. It's the same with Diagram. True Draco is not going to do anything. If you think so, I don't know what to tell you. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to be a cool deck to play against. The fact that they can play a lot of floodgates and stuff is not the most fantastic thing, but then the argument is just ban the fucking floodgates. Get rid of that shit so you can actually play True Draco with a more of like a control mindset, and I like that aspect. Then Raziel Detonator to 1. I quite like this. I didn't expect it, to be honest. It just kills the follow-up game of Raziel. It means that if you banish it now, then they're basically shit out of luck. It means that Raziel now, when you're playing, going second against it, and you somehow get the Detonator in graveyard and you can actually burst heal the Detonator, that means you can basically get rid of the biggest problem that the Raziel deck has. So I kind of like that. That also means that if the Raziel decks weren't playing plugin, which I know most people were, but plugin now becomes a bit more important in the deck, and I like the fact that plugin is more important because I actually, like I said, I don't like Raziel, but I like plugin. I think it's a pretty decent card. So yeah, Detonator going to 1, I think it's overall a good thing. And then, like I said, Bonfire to 1. I feel sorry for decks like Volcanics and Ashen, even though Ashen are terrible. I still like the concept of the deck, but Konami seems to go out of their way to make it shit. But I think Bonfire going to 1 is expected. Konami is pushing 7th Tachyon. It makes sense that they're basically telling you, listen, you have to go buy, what's his name? The 7th Tachyon. Then Brilliant Fusion going to 1, I don't think it matters at all. Playing it at 1 means you essentially have to play a solid Garnet. I know. You have to play a solid Garnet just to get an extra normal summon, and you have to play something in your extra deck that basically does nothing unless you draw one specific continuous spell. I mean, Brilliant Fusion at 3, I still think wouldn't make that much of a difference, to be honest. So I like the fact that Brilliant Fusion is slowly creeping back up. In my opinion, also, back in the day, if they actually wanted to hit Brilliant Fusion in terms of the genericness of it, I think they should have just banned Seraphonite, and that would have made it a lot better. But yeah, that's an irrelevant point for now. Then Crossout Designator, this is actually something that I sort of expected. I like the fact that Designator is going to 1. It means that your hand traps actually mean a lot more now. And I quite like the fact that they're cutting down on the hand trap stoppers, essentially. Because the argument was always that the more rogue decks needed these hand trap stoppers. But then the same argument can be flipped on its head, where you can say that the better decks, like the tier 1 decks or the tier 0 decks, or whatever the case may be, can actually use Designator Call by Wara Wara on their own as well. So I think it's a net good that Designator goes to 1. And then Talents to 1, this is something that I didn't see coming, but it actually makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Talents is a really good card. Generally, I used to play 2 and 1 call by on almost everything that I could, and I usually sided out the second copy, so that just makes it easier for me to side out, because I'm now going to be playing cross out if my deck is already playing hand traps. So then I'm just going to side out the cross out going second. So I actually I'm not as perturbed by the fact that Talents is going to 1. It's been a long time coming. Back in the day when Talents got released, my brother and I were going like, holy shit, how the fuck are they printing this type of card? But yeah. Then we move on to the Forbidden section. Now this is one of the points where I kind of feel indifferent towards some cards, and I feel that it could have been a bit more severe. Abyss Dweller, like, I'm not entirely happy about this, because I think Dweller could have been hit a few formats back. I mean, Dweller is just like Shifter in the sense that as soon as it resolves, you can't do shit against it. Although it is a rank 4, so it's a bit easier to interact with. But yeah, I mean, Dweller going, it should have been done already, but now it's being hit now, which means that it opens up the format to more graveyard reliant decks, which I think is a pretty decent thing. Then Bahamut going to banned. To be completely honest, I didn't know what the perfect hit would be towards Mermail. I hate the fact that Moulin Glacier rips 2. I know some people don't even play Moulin Glacier, but I hate the fact that the deck interacts with my hand. Don't interact with my hand. That is sacred ground. Don't touch it. However, this now means that the Mermail deck is more susceptible to certain hand traps, which is obviously a good thing. The deck was very ignorant in the way that it played. I think the deck is still stupidly good going second. So Bahamut, we'll see in due time if that's the correct hit. My opinion can be swayed on it. I think Toad not being banned is a good thing for me, because I actually like Sprite as well. But that is also just a biased opinion. I know Toad, like, the reason why I think Bahamut was hit is because of 4 reasons. So Bahamut, when it detaches the first point is Bahamut detaches the Dragoons, which means you get a search, right? So that's a way to trigger your Dragoons for the 6 millionth time in one combo. Secondly, it summons out an Omni Negate, so that's the Toad. And the fact that it just ignorantly summons out an Omni Negate is way too good, actually. The other fact is the Toad that it summons gives you recursion. So when it negates something, goes to graveyard, you add back a water. So that means you essentially taking away a card from your opponent, and you're giving yourself another card. And if you, let's say, negate a back row like an Imperm or whatever with a Toad, you actually get to set that to your field as well. So I mean, Bahamut facilitating all 3 of those so far is quite insane. And then the last thing, which is the least important part of it, if Bahamut detaches and summons out the Toad, the Bahamut still sticks on field, which means you still get a material to link off with, or to make extra deck plays with. So I think that is one of those 4 reasons are the reasons why I think that Konami actually took this approach to hit the Bahamut. And I mean, it makes sense in my opinion. So yeah, it is what it is. And then the link decoder, I mean, the link decoder is obviously the better target when you consider the link ones that Malice was playing. I know they also can play the Lingeribo, but at least that doesn't give them a free material when they link off for their link 3s. And I don't know, man. I'm not entirely sure what the best way is to hit Malice without killing it. Like I said, I don't like Malice, but I don't want the deck to be dead. And then the last card is Nightmare Griffin. I don't think that matters that much. I mean, at the point where Griffin is summoned, you're losing the game anyway. So unless you're playing Memento, because then you have infinite ways to play through shit like that. But I think the Nightmare Griffin, I don't think it matters that much, but it's a good hit because it's just a floodgate monster, and those generic type of floodgates I think don't need to exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just so, by the way, the fact this is going to sound very salty, but I'm not going to, I'm going to be transparent about the fact that I am going to be salty. If somebody shifters me now, I am going to be cuck salty, and I won't lie about that. But yeah, that is just what it is. Any case, just to go through my thoughts on the ban list, where they could have maybe done something better. Just remember, I'm a random Yu-Gi-Oh player. I don't make the ban list. But I think personally, and this is a biased opinion, but I also think it's a very popular opinion, and I agree with it. I think Electromite should have come back to 1. Konami obviously has, or I think Konami USA, because they're in charge of the ban list. As far as I'm aware, I might be wrong with that. Don't quote me on it. But I think they have like a vendetta against Pendulum for some reason. They're saying that if Electromite being legal makes every Pendulum deck be the same, like morph into the same thing, dude, I don't fucking care. You can't even play Pendulums anymore and expect to do well, because Blue Eye Spirit Dragon exists, Detonator still exists, hand traps exist. The whole concept of Pendulums needs something like Electromite to be playable. So yeah, I'm quite miffed at that, but I'm at the point now where I realize that it probably is never going to come back. Then along with that, I'm going to say, if they didn't bring back Electromite to 1, then why not bring Astrograph back to 3? Because, dude, come on, like Astro without Electromite is super fine. I think even with Electromite it's fine. But I think Astro should have been at 3, no questions. Then the obvious elephant in the room is no Fiendsmith hits. To be completely honest, I understand why they didn't hit the Fiendsmith, because Konami needs to make money. I'm not happy about it, but I understand it. And I think it's a very transparent way of Konami to show that they really are in the business of creating banners to forward their product releases, which is obviously, everybody knows this. I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence by saying that people were unaware of this fact, but it is what it is. Then I like the fact that the banners is moving towards a place where stuff like lingering floodgates are being hit. For instance, Shifter and Dweller and stuff like that. I just think maybe something should have been done to Lancia, but I know there's Malice support on the way. But then again, I don't like the interaction of going, your opponent's going into their draw phase, you saying, okay, right, here's a Shifter, do you have call by? No. Tough shit, bro. And I don't like that type of interaction. I don't like the fact that non-games tend to come out of hand traps or cards like that. So I just think they should be gotten rid of. That's why I'm saying maybe Lancia should have been touched in some way. But that's just obviously me being diplomatic. And like I said, I don't like the fact that non-games exist from hand traps like that or cards like that. And then why not miscellaneous to 3? Smile. I wish miscellaneous could go to more than 1. I think diners are in a very shit position at the moment where they lose to essentially like 1 hand trap. Yeah, sure, you can't interact with the board, wara, but there are still ways to make the board very manageable if you just keep your Ash for the misc effect. And also Lancia just fucking kills them anyway. So, but yeah, then just to get to my last point here, I think decks that are going to be significantly better now are obviously going to be Graveyard, excuse me. Yes, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Graveyard Reliant decks. These are things like Fire King. It's a good thing. I love Fire King. Memento, I love Memento. Drytron, one of my favorite decks of all time. I think that deck is obviously getting a lot better now. With the fact that Druid's Worm is going to get hit. Well, is hit now, and Shifter being hit. So Graveyard Reliant decks are going to be much better now. Something like Telement might see a bit of a resurgence due to Shifter and Dweller going. But also they're losing the access to Toad. So I don't know what is essentially the best way to play that deck now. But yeah, graveyard reliant decks, I think that's a good thing. The fact that Konami has been moving in a way over the past 10, 15 years or whatever, where the graveyard is becoming more important, and now it's just meaning, well, they're making it so that graveyard decks can still play, so you're having multiple points of interaction in certain decks. But yeah, overall, those are just my thoughts, guys. Feel free to comment, feel free to like the video, to subscribe, to share it with your friends, sharing it in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. And please feel free to give me suggestions on future videos. I'm really in the mindset that I want to give the subscribers what they want. And also I'm going to be making my own videos. But yeah, and just to make a note as well, I will be making a bit of a memento combo video. I did get second place yesterday at our locals. So maybe that would be a nice video going forward, especially with the guy winning with Memento now last night at the YCS. By the way, congrats, dude. Yeah, guys, that's going to be it for me. I hope your day is going well, and cheers, Brasso.